a video last night, right? You're calling me names, right? With you, John Paul, you've a humble eye you have. You're a squinty cunt, and Kathleen's Mike. I'll fight the 2v. I'll fight Kathleen's Mike first, and I'll fight John Paul. And if you want to get back there, he'll fight me, and I'll kill you so dead. Oh, Mama was like, go to bed one night, and this shit is going on. You're not getting off with it. You're not getting off. Come back, fat balls, macho. You said you put me tumbling and blowing the gimp hair with 3 beds. Listen, I was drinking for 3 months with my uncle Claire. You got out of prison after doing 3 years. You bet you up to date, but I got you a month later. I was off the drink. Do you remember up the 100 steps when I hit you 2 slaps? And I bent in the head when you went down your knees crying like a bitch. You said somebody else said it, you fucking scumbag. You sleep in the streets of Cork and with blankets. You talk about us, junkies and dust. You're a dead man. I'm going to rip your throat out. No, after that, 1 hour. 1 hour. 1 hour. 1 hour.
I dare you touch it! I dare you touch it! Fucking touch it! Go on! I swear to go away from me! Touch it! Go on, touch it! Touch it! How about you fuck off? Get the fuck off here! We're not going nowhere! I dare touch it! Fucking touch it! Who's bothered about you fucking monkeys in suits? Get off here! Go! Go on! Touch it! Come on! Come on! I swear to this Bible! I dare you! You fucking jackass! Go on! Come on! Boys, you need wheel braces. You need wheel braces. Hello, give me the key of this. Come on. That's there for a reason, right? Come on, touch it. Up. Put the van down here, yeah? Come on. Look, move on my face. Move on my face.
I'm speaking to you.
How about no?
I'm trying to strike a deal with
you think
and you can't even be bothered to phone
me. Around me, you dirty, you innocent boy. You fucking innocent pig. Get the fuck off here. Who do you think you are?
Leave that for us to clean up now.
You're a nosy little shit. It's not on my uncle. I'm not your friends then. It's not on my uncle again.
Excuse me?
Swear again. It's not on my uncle again. Swear it down.
How old are you?
Travellers are a problem. This statement is not racist, bigoted, or even controversial. It is simply a fact of life in Ireland. But before I explain to you why this tiny minority is such a scourge on Irish society, for anyone unfamiliar with travellers within the context of Ireland, here's a brief history. While recent genetic studies conducted by the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland and the University of Edinburgh confirm that travellers are of Irish ancestral origin, evidence also suggests a split from the general Irish population around 360 years ago. Since then, travellers have largely led a nomadic lifestyle, developing their own set of cultural norms and practices, even their own language, Celt, although most modern travellers are predominantly English speaking. Well, sort of.
Save your breath and cool your parts. Hey, look, she wants a heck of 2 roof lights, the stylish house frame furniture, and the scatter cushions with the matching shark by cover. Okay. Right. It's just terrible partial to the Periwinkle Blue bags. Have I made myself clear, guys?
The social isolation of travellers did not solely result in cultural differences, however. According to the same genetic study I referenced earlier, while travellers do originate from Irish ancestry, they are also genetically distinct from the Irish people. How is this the case? Oh, I'll get to that later. This led to Irish travellers being officially recognised as an indigenous ethnic minority by the Irish government in 2017. According to the Census 2016, the number of travellers resident in Ireland was 30,987, representing 0.6% of the total population. So at this point you might be wondering how a community so small could be such a serious problem. Well, as it turns out, they commit a shitload of crime. According to this Irish Times article published in 2017, despite only making up 0.6% of the total population, travellers account for 10% of the male prison population and 22% of the female prison population. Let me repeat that again for fucking emphasis. Despite only making up 0.6% of the total population, travellers account for 10% of the male prisoner population And 22%, almost a quarter, of the female prison population. And it's even worse than that, by the way. Because that 0.6% represents the entire traveller population in Ireland. So assuming something close to a 50-50 breakdown between genders, that means male and female travellers only make up 0.3% of the total population respectively, yet account for 10% of males and 22% of females in prison. That is disgraceful. That is shameful. It is an absolute scandal. This should be covered by the media every day in an effort to shame these people into reforming their community. But it rarely gets a mention. And even when there is an acknowledgement of the facts, it is never accompanied by any condemnation, only deflection. Thomas McCann, traveller activist and founder of the Traveller Counselling Service, said though no one should make any excuses for any traveller that breaks the law, why do I sense an excuse coming? It was important to analyse and understand the wider conditions of travellers' lives to understand their overrepresentation in the prisons. Oh, I understand just perfectly. They are overrepresented in the prisons because they commit a disproportionate amount of crime. As a community, travellers suffer extreme discrimination. Oh my God. They're not just discriminated against, they're extremely discriminated against. Racism and social exclusion, they exclude themselves, Tom. Isn't that the fucking point? But what did I tell you? What did I just tell you? The facts have been stated. They skip the condemnation and pivot straight to deflection. So what is this guy saying? Let's break it down. He's saying ignore problem A, which is the criminal culture that exists within the traveller community, and instead focus on problem B, which is the negative reaction, the rightful negative reaction, from the general public towards that criminal culture. So when a traveller chooses to commit a crime, and I call them out on it, and point to the fact that this is a behavioural trend within that community, I am called a racist. Gotta get that smear in there. But not only that, then I am told that me pointing out problem A is then leading to the negative perception of travellers, which then only further perpetuates the criminal behaviour that led to the negativity in the first place. Ridiculous. But look, I don't want to be overly critical of this group, so let's leave behind the prison stats and discuss the great many hard-working men and women of the travelling community who are just trying to carve out a decent life for themselves, paying their taxes, and contributing to the betterment of the nation. Well, this is awkward. 80%! That is insane! The majority, the fucking majority of them are unemployed. I would love a detailed breakdown of what the remaining 20% do for a living. I'm sure that's all above board. But even if it was, if 4 out of 5 apples in the bunch are bad, is it even worth acknowledging the one that isn't? I love the very simple and straightforward explanation they give for this as well in the article. It simply states that traveller children, particularly young girls, are taken out of school at an early age, and therefore it makes perfect sense that unemployment numbers are so high. Yeah, no shit, Shirley, but who is pulling these kids out of school? The parents. Why? Because they are part of a culture that does not value education or hard work. But that isn't addressed. Not surprising. 11.3% said they were unable to work due to a disability, almost 3 times the rate of the general population. Well, that's interesting. Why would they be 3 times higher than the general population? Oh no. Oh please no. Just when you thought this little recipe for dysfunction couldn't get any worse. That's right, people, it turns out incest is not best, and keeping it in the family has some pretty serious consequences. So there's a few things I want to address about this article before I delve into this. Firstly, it was written in 2003. Now some might argue it's a little outdated, but considering travellers have spent the past 16 years campaigning to maintain their way of life, there's no reason in my view to believe that this practice has lessened to any great extent. I did search for a more recent source, but couldn't find one, and quite frankly, I'm not sure this piece would make it past the editor in the current year. The second thing I want to address is that this headline is actually a little misleading. Once you read into it, you realise it's actually worse than it first appears. The article starts off by defining consanguinity, might have butchered that pronunciation, which is marriage between first and second cousins. So you assume that 2 and 5 from the headline is referencing first and second cousin marriages. But in fact, that 2 and 5 number is the number of traveller marriages between first cousins. So 40% of traveller marriages are between first cousins. If you were to throw in second cousins, what do you think that number would be then? And let's be real here, we are talking about a community of 30 to 40,000 people who only marry within that community. So I don't care how distantly related two travellers may be, they are swimming in an all too small gene pool. So why is this important? Well, it turns out there's a reason why the civilized world abandoned the practice of marrying close relatives. Aside from just being kind of gross, the chances of a child being born from this marriage with a congenital disability doubles and can even treble after multiple generations, which easily explains the high rate of disability within the traveller community.
Consanguinity describes a situation where a couple who are planning to have children are related to each other by blood. In this example, Anne's mother Jane is the sister of John's father Ian, and so Anne and John are first cousins. There is an increased risk of genetic disorders occurring in children from parents who are related. For first cousins, where there is no other consanguinity in previous generations, this risk is approximately 5%. Genetic disorders are not confined to consanguineous parents. The risk of genetic disorders in the general population is 2.5%. So while consanguinity does double the risk, first cousins still have a 95% chance of having a healthy child. If there is consanguinity in previous generations, and the couple come from a small isolated population, the risk to the children of a first cousin relationship does increase to greater than 5%. A 1993 study showed that, for families where consanguinity had been practiced for many generations, first cousin parents trebled their risk of having a child with an autosomal recessive disorder.
But it's not just disabilities that are a concern. Research has also shown an increase in psychological disorders, even a depression in IQ in the children from first cousin marriages. We are told that no culture is more or less valuable than any other, which is complete bullshit. But I go a step further than that. Some cultures have no value and need to be scrapped. So if you belong to a culture that breeds high crime, high unemployment, and an overabundance of cousin fucking, it's time to start over and assimilate into civilized society.
Go! premiumbeat.com.